page 15, I just want to talk about some themes. So a first theme that's important for this year's report is that Ngāti Hine Health Trust takes its responsibility and its relationship and its contribution to the Ngāti Hine community seriously, and it's a priority for the Trust. So it's no use us going to do all of this other stuff if we're not seen on Marae, seen at hui mate, seen at school galas, contributing to our community. Otherwise, as my report says, we have the potential to be like one of our whanaunga living down in the South Island who never comes home, and we never get to see them at any particular hui. So how have we supported our community in the past year? Well, one of the kaupapa has been on our maraes. We continue to take our outreach services around our maraes, and we have higher hopes and aspirations to do more on our maraes. So currently we have health clinics, we have GP clinics. We've got to not forget we need to bring the services to remote locations like Matawaia. We've supported the wider Ngāti Hine mahi in the treaty claim journey. So we've supported small ways by making wakas available to get people down to huis, to providing some small contributions to allow Ngāti Hine to express its rangatiratanga. We also supported the biennial Te Ahuarika, or Ngāti Hine as the principal sponsor, and not just supported it with putia. We supported it with boots and all. We supported the organising committee. Ngāti Hine FM did a stellar job of live streaming, and the staff not only were there to serve, support the ringawera, they were also up on stage as we've already shared. We've supported a number of community events. So we've live streamed some sporting events. We've been out there and undertaken a modest level of sponsorship. And at Christmas time, there's always parades and kawakawa or moirawa, and we've supported those kaupapa behind the scenes as we intend to do this year. COVID-19, our chair mentioned in her report that actually no one entity, no one provider, no one iwi can do all things for its people. So in COVID-19, when New Zealand went into lockdown about 28th of March, Ngāti Hine Health Trust, in conjunction with Te Runanga o Ngāti Hine and some others, including in the end Ngāti Wai, formed Te Manawaro o Ngāti Hine to undertake a combined approach to serving the needs of our people. We worked in conjunction with the Whāngarei Takiwa o Ngāpui and Ngāti Wai to get the resources to our people. You know, I think that's significant. It wasn't that long ago people were even picking up the phone to each other. So we've been there in COVID. Our executive leadership team, you've met them, but our leadership team haven't had a holiday in the whole of 2020. So other than the Christmas break, other than maybe a day where they were sick and had to stay home or going to a hui mate, our leadership team haven't had a break this year because our focus has been on doing the business for our whānau, not looking after ourselves. But as our board have reminded we need to take a break, and we will take a break in the upcoming period. About a year and a half ago, the Trust did some restructuring. We had to do some restructuring, but it wasn't driven by money, although money has been a benefit of that restructuring. The restructuring was driven by moving the Trust away from services and silos. In other words, hauora silo, social services silo, disability support silo, Ngāti Hine FM, no, they've never been a silo. Moving away from silos and putting whānau order at the sense of everything we're doing. And as we sit here today, whānau order and the practice of it, not the talk of it, is in the process of transcending all our workforce. So even our nurses, they're whānau order practitioners. Our social workers, they're whānau order practitioners. Our doctors, they're whānau order practitioners. They might not know it yet, but that's their primary goal, and then they specialise in something. That restructuring has allowed what our Deputy Chair Rob Gable talked about, a transition from a deficit in 2017, not in this report, of something like $2.3 million loss to a surplus in the last year, 471,000, and we expect those results to continue. And I want to just acknowledge the good people who have made decisions through that restructuring to chart a new path. And whilst it was tough at the time, we've had good people, good Ngāti Hine people, who have left the trust for different reasons. But I believe as that one door has closed, other doors have opened. And the recent example of that was Maria Meno Kapakingi, was one of our general managers back in 2017. And when we restructured to do away with services, who knows, but that decision may have contributed to her now being the acting CEO for Te Aupōuri Māori Trust Board. Government reviews. I think this government in its first term were coined the government of reviews. And there have been a number of reviews. Can I say Ngāti Hine Health Trust is still waiting to see the fruits of some of those reviews in the first term, and we're hopeful that in a second term government, some of those many reviews are going to bear fruits for our people in the next little while. But some of the reviews that are important to us in this year, Ngāti Hine FM, the whole iwi radio station had a cloud hanging over it with a review by Te Puni Kōkiri that was undertaken last year that was promoting some radical recommendations around iwi radio. I think with the appointment of Minister Jackson, Willie Jackson, to lead Māori development, he's always had a passion for iwi radio. He's had his ear tuned to the ground. I think we might expect some further shifts back to support iwi radio than what was looking like in the Māori media sector review. Corrections and in ngāwha, acknowledging Ngāti Rangi as the haukainga, as those who carry the mantle for ngāwha. Ngāti Hine has been involved in the corrections Paihiritia Te Muka tangata program for at least 2 years. Co-design. Man, co-design can take a long time. And Jen, our Chief Operating Officer, has shared that recently with the Minister around don't over-plan. Sometimes you got to get on and do some things. Housing, there's a housing crisis in Taitukuto. Every spare motel room unit or whānau at home is choka. And my challenge is that if Māori providers in iwi, like Ngāpui, like Te Hauoro Ngāpui, who are a community housing provider, Ngāti Hine Health Trust, who are a community housing provider, and Te Runanga or Whangaroa are the 3 Māori community housing providers for Taitukuto. If we're not getting into building supply, then I think we're going to be waiting a long time for Pākehā commercial developers to get into it because the money's not there. So Ngāti Hine Health Trust is committed to getting into supply. And Oranga Tamariki. How could I not be up here but to refer to Oranga Tamariki? Look, Ngāti Hine, both the Runanga and the Health Trust, have taken a respectful challenge. All of the issues that Oranga Tamariki have not delivered on or are not rolling out, respectfully challenged, but recognising we have to work with them. So Ngāti Hine Health Trust, in conjunction with a wider collective called Tai Timu Tai Pari, have been engaging with Oranga Tamariki to advance the devolution process within the Ngāpuhi Rohe. So those are the things we're looking forward to, and I just want to close on 2 more points. COVID and acknowledgements. You know, this report could have been a COVID report. You know, COVID cover, COVID this, COVID that. But there are too many good things that the Trust has progressed, too many challenges in addition to COVID, that in writing this year's report, I felt it wasn't important to write a COVID annual report. But I want to acknowledge many of the staff here who worked through weekends, manning community-based testing centres and Kawakawa, getting in vehicles to do outreach, delivering kai, is that during COVID, the Health Trust focused on the main thing, and that was whānau. Finally, to our board, an organisation at the end of the day, I believe, is a representation of the board. Yes, there are chief executives who come and go, there are executive leaders who come and go, but on many occasions the boards, the trustees are around for a while, and so Ngāti Hine Health Trust, that I'm proud to report where we are at the end of 30th of June 2020. A lot of that has to go back to the quality of the governance, quality of the leadership, the parameters that the board allow me as the chief executive to tread towards, and then push me back in and say, don't go too far left or right. And so on the highlights page, as I get ready for Jen to come up to talk to a couple of very important pieces of work as our Chief Operating Officer, the highlights on pages 19 and 20 are just a few that made it into the annual report. And I think it's poignant on page 19 that we have a picture of Pita Paroni, who was at our Puanga Matariki Day in July 2019 and was not well at that hui, and passed not too long after that hui, but he was at the hui with Ngāti Hine Health Trust serving and supporting the kaupapa. And if I come through to the last photo on the page of page 20, bottom right hand side, is that's us putting a whānau into a house in Whangarei. So we're a housing first provider in Whangarei with a collective, but Matua Fred, Sam, we're a housing first provider in the Far North Collective with Te Hauora or Ngāpui as our lead partner there as well. In closing, here's the challenge. Ngāti Hine Health Trust is committed to establish a Northland Māori commissioning agency, with or without everybody, preferably with, so that the government has one voice to talk to and doesn't trade off all of our hapu, our iwi, our hauora and social services providers in the detail, and keeps us in that competition phase. We look forward to advancing that Northland Māori commissioning agency called Taitamu Taipare in the upcoming year, and the door is open for everybody to join. No, nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa.
The model that you see on the pages of our annual report, three really important things. Relationships is where whānau ora begins. We've used the kumara analogy, and you can see that running up the left-hand side of that chart. We sang a waiata this morning, e ngaki, about the kumara. And so we've used that analogy to show, you know, what you put in is what you get out. That's the summary of that. Ta tāpapa, ka puta mai ko ngā tupu, ka puta mai ko ngā hua e mahi nei koe ki te whakatō. Nā muri o tērā, ko te amoamohanga, ko te kōmenitanga, ko te wehe o ngā kumara, ko wehea mo tēnei, ko wehea mo tērā. So we've used that analogy to highlight the really important thing about whānau ora practice. It's about having the relationship all the way through the journey. The second thing, so without the relationship, the experience that the whānau have with us is determined by that relationship. That's what we're saying in that model of practice. The experience is really important. You know, hei tā tāne ana tūria, hei tāna kōrero. It's not the destination, yeah? It's the journey. In terms of that journey, I just want to quickly summarise what's important about our whānau ora practice. And that experience is where we have the attention to our physical well-being, to our spiritual well-being, to our emotional and psychological well-being. That is what should be happening in that experience. That our whānau are experiencing a journey that is underpinned by whakaaro Māori. We have a vehicle that we have invested in order to unpack Kei roto I tērā haerenga o ngā whānau, ko ngā whakaaro a Māori, ko te manaakitanga, ko te whanaungatanga, ko te rangatiratanga, ko te tuākiritanga. We have a vehicle which is not enough time here to go through the detail of that for Manawaroa, where we will train all our staff. You know, Jeff talked about the numbers of our staff. We've got 360 odd staff. Our intention is to train all our staff in being capable to unpack all those tangas that are so core to being able to have that relationship that we look for with the whānau. E tātou mā, e hari te mea taimaha, e hari te mea hou, he mea ngāwari noiho ko te manaaki wa tātou whānau. Me hoki mātou ki kora, ki te manaaki I wa tātou whānau, e hara ki te tohu I wa tātou whānau. Me te whakaaro anō a ngākau, kei roto anō I wo tātou whānau, tō rātou ake kaha, ki te whakatinana I ngā mahi e mahitahi nei tātou, hei piki ake I ngā oranga I wānanui, I a rātou, I a tātou katoa. I said to our staff a little while ago, if I was able to put a formula together to as quickly as I can summarise whānau ora, it would say something like this. Relationships equals the experience, equals the outcomes that you will achieve. Now we can do it without having those very focused and deliberate relationships, but the outcomes will be reflective of that. And traditionally, we haven't put our energy, te aroa Ngāti Hine. The energy has not been put into those relationships, nor has it been into providing a journey that is underpinned, deliberately underpinned by Māori ideology. Our belief that we have a lot of the oranga ourselves. And we've kind of lost that belief in many ways. And we have been driven by contracts and the outcomes therein. Waka kōrero ki wā tātou kai wā mātou nei kai mahi. There are outcomes and then there are outcomes. And that's another question of whānau ora. You know, it asks two big questions. What is the outcome? What is the outcome that we're seeking for whānau? And how do we go about doing that? And those are the two things that we have reasonably confidently said that we have now developed a kaupapa that we will umbrella all our mahi with, as Jeff alluded to this morning, across all of our 65 odd contracts, ko huri mātou kato ki te titiro pera, and it's not an easy thing. So as I said, we've had to identify a vehicle in which we can unpack what that journey needs to look like in order for us to put our hand on our heart and say, we have provided our whānau with a huarahi, hei haerenga mō rātou, e ai ki mō rātou ake whakaaro Māori. E hari te mea ma mātou rātou e tono ki konei ki kora ki kora. It's a very different way of practicing. On the 30th of November, I tātou mā, we start our training with all our staff. It's ambitious, it's been difficult, but it's very exciting. The second thing I'm just wanting to quickly, I want to leave the model of practice there. The second thing I just quickly want to share with you. In order for us, because we're diverse staff, we're not just all from Ngāti Hine, we are diverse staff with diverse experiences and qualification. And so, you know, in order, as we were going through the transition and talking about whānau centre and whānau ora, trying to galvanise everybody around a common whakaaro. How do we intend to work as a staff in order to deliver that type of kaupapa, whānau ora? I went back to our marae model and thought about how we work on a marae. This is about how we work on a marae. And this is really for us internally as staff of Ngāti Hine Health Trust. When a kaupapa comes to the door, me he mea he hui, we all know our roles. That's the intent. We all know our roles, and and the key to our roles being achieved in terms of manaaki our whānau on a marae is the coordination of all of that mahi, coordinating what we do. We have traditionally not worked like this. As Jeff talked about this morning, we were separate services. We are now one organisation trying to move as one organisation ko ngā tikanga. Our marae model sets the tikanga, that we can all at least a pēnei ki te marae, mōhona tātou katoa ki ngā tikanga o tō tātou marae. E pērana te whakaaro o Ngāti Hine, te haura Ngāti Hine, kia mōhio rāno ngā kaimahi katoa, ki ngā tikanga whakahaere o te marae o Ngāti Hine, o te haura o Ngāti Hine. Taka kia no tātou ka haere ngatahi. Oe haere ri, we tahi kei konei, we tahi kei kōra. So we've adopted the marae model as our internal guide and platform for tikanga for our staff. Kia kaua mātou e potiti haere tū atu i ngā whakaaro a whānau ora. E tātou mā mōhanau ki whai rawa pēo e nei kōrero. Hore kaupea tino mārama wetahi o nei kōrero kia koutou. Engari, āta pānui hia wā koutou puka puka ko te mea nui kia mōhio tātou. Ko huri te hauro Ngāti Hine, ki te āta te tiro, ki te whānau i te tuatahi. E hara, ko ngā kaituku pūtea, ko te kāwanatanga, kei reira mō rātau. E hari te mea anau o waiho rātau ki te taha. Engari ko te whānau, kei wainganui tonu, kei mua tonu, i wā mātou mahi. He mea tino rere ki e tērā, ki wā mātou nei kaumahi. Ana reira, e tātou mā, koe ngāno wā ki nei kōrero mo tēnei wā, a kia ora mai nō tātou.
Under Tikanga People in Practice, we're about the staff well-being, so looking after our well over 360 odd staff, currently based across 4 office sites, and we've got some residential programs and probably about 180 staff in whānau homes doing home support. So they're spread right across Te Tai Tokoro, our staff. Some of the challenges we have are around pay parity. So we're competing with organisations around skilled staff. So this year we've managed to look at our nursing cohort and bring their salaries up to pay parity along with some of their DHB colleagues, along with the living wage for all of our staff. So other things that we've had in place have been around working with staff around their challenges, what they find. So we've done a number of surveys to get feedback from our staff so that we can look at quality improvement. We've also been working very closely with Jen with the transformation around our the tikanga part is around our policies and business procedures. So we have been working through a number of the documents and transitioning those over to fit with the practice that we've transitioned into. So whānau ora has been happening within as well internally. So the other aspects we've been working with staff around is the well-being, is we've put in external counselling to support our kaumātua who do pastoral care within, so staff have other options if they're struggling with their mahi or externally they can get support that's confidential, along with we're looking at a whole lot of other programs to support them around their well-being during yeah.
From a financial perspective, Jeff raised it earlier. I just wanted to acknowledge the support of Steve Bennett and Associates. It'd be remiss in my duties not to highlight their support over the 28 years, without which we wouldn't be here today in the same degree as we are without that expert advice. Similarly for Adele and her team, BDO in Northland, it was the first time that we used someone different, and it gave us great confidence that we got all ticks, really, if I was to summarise it. Really happy with the way that we go about our job and how we do our mahi, so it was really a sign of acknowledgement, really, from quite a reputable organisation with international standards. Not dissimilar to Steve, but just another kōrero. What I wanted to talk to briefly, really, is this big number here, $551,000 surplus. That's pretty significant by any NGO standard. I think it's, and I've included in my report that it can be often seen as a negative. Why so much? Well, why so much for us is because we need to ready ourselves. There's all sorts of infrastructure, buildings and the like that we need to invest in, and we do provide some pūtea for that, but we're at a stage when we need to make a step change. The conditions for what we're doing, I don't think it's ever been as good as this in terms of interest rates, etc. So we've begun to think about what the future looks like, 5 generations from now. So how do we position ourselves to be able to work through that, so that what we're doing, the choices that we make, we're the custodians of care right now, but we've been afforded opportunities available to us now because of the decisions that were made 20 years ago. So we need to be in a position where we're doing the same for future leadership with the Ngāti Hine Health Trust. And we take that responsibility and very seriously. So that's important for us, and being able to deliver like that it enables options that we wouldn't normally have and other NGOs don't have. I just wanted to talk to that very briefly. The other thing too, and I noticed about Ngāti Hine Health Trust, been 15 months in this organisation, and it really, like last night we were at dinner with Harris, a retired board member, and it was just a simple question. We just wanted to join 2 tables. We were one on the side and a group of 10 on each side. And we couldn't because of their systems and processes. Ngāti Hine Health Trust would just go like that. We wouldn't even think about it. And just as an example, we just make things happen. We have to be nimble and be able to be flexible to do what we need to do. Otherwise, everyone's just going to be waiting and everything's iterative. And as a result, we just end up going backwards. So our mentality is like that. Finance has got to follow it. It's very rigid normally, very rigid. And so there's frustrations because the profession and the characteristics, the traits of an accountant is very, very black and white usually. But we can't be like that. We have to move to be able to support the model. It's we're not the approvers. We're just there to enable these developments and quality provisions that we're doing. And I like to just to use an analogy because I don't want to talk about money. I don't want to talk about that. I want to talk about how we can provide quality care. It's like and I use an analogy, a vehicle. Money, it could be the tools. The various tools that you use to fine-tune a motor, engine. But you don't talk about the tools, you talk about the engine. You talk about how you move and propel and deliver quality services. I think that's probably quite to me. Kia ora.
Kia ora, Jensen.
Firstly, just to say thank you for the opportunity to kōrero today. He mokopuna au. And I look around this room and I see all the who's who of hauora of the north. And it's quite exciting, and so it's a real privilege and honour to be asked to talk about mainly my PhD mahi, which was around Rōhua Māori, and really asking the question, what was, is and will be rongoa And there's a very long backstory, but I won't really go into it too much today because I know that we're getting hungry. But basically, I grew up here, and I, lived the life of a mokopuna of Ngāti Hine. Spent lots of time in Waikare, spent lots of time out in the Bay of Islands, and around my nanny, who did things like drink kumaraho, and then I heard my dad say, "Don't drink that, it tastes yuck." And then I wanted to work in health, so I trained as a physiotherapist, and I worked there for about 5 minutes, and I saw all of the issues that were happening in the health sector, and I was like, not going to do that anymore, because I couldn't see myself as an individual physiotherapist creating the changes that I wanted to see for our whānau. And so I got into Māori health research, and I had some really good mentors and opportunities. Took up those opportunities that were pretty much laid for me by ones who had gone before me. So now I work in kaupapa Māori health research, and I sort of had this epiphany one day, which it was quite obvious actually, because we were trying to get more Māori into health. We were trying to make more Māori doctors, we were trying to do all this recruitment and retention of people into and through health professional training. And I was at Auckland University, and one day I realised that we were picking up all of our rangatahi who were saying that they wanted to make a difference for their whānau in terms of hauora and well-being, and the pathways that we were offering to them were to learn Western medicine, were to train as doctors, but in Western frameworks and Western healing. And I was like, but where's what's happening in our space? What's happening in terms of rongoa Māori? Where is the training for us and the learning in terms of being able to help our whānau from a Māori perspective? And so I started to ask what's happening in the rongoa space, tried to have a look at what was happening in terms of the funding, and in that space, really looking at the tokenistic funding of rongoa Māori, which is 19 health clinics across Aotearoa, which is not that many, and that what is funded in those health clinics is very limited, very restricted, very heavily regulated, and that the only things you are funded to do is provide mirimiri, karakia and kōrero, and we're all very mindful that that is not what rongoa means to us. So I better get past slide 1. So we did this kaupapa Māori research approach. This is the simple model of it, but basically coming from a Matawaia perspective, acknowledging our whakapapa and that the way that we go about doing things is grounded in tikanga Māori, but also to acknowledge that our whakapapa is that we are treaty partners and that we're having to deal with that at the moment. So my real question in this mahi was having a think about the funding for rongoa in the health sector is based on what the health sector thinks that rongoa is. So if the health sector only thinks that rongoa is mirimiri, then they're only going to fund that. And other people have some ideas about that it's also making kawakawa balms and soaps, but that it's much more than that. So I was trying to go, okay, well, where are we going in terms of rongoa Māori in future? And are we going to get to where we want to go if we're taking this understanding that we have at the moment? So my question was really to look back a little bit and unpack what is rongoa? What do whānau see rongoa being? What's our understanding of that? What is that system? How can that inform where we're going? So I went and asked heaps of really important people in the Māori world about what they thought rongoa was. And this mahi was actually based in Ōrākei, so we asked whānau in Ōrākei as well. And so the results very quickly are just sort of over a timeline. What was and is rongoa? What happened? What's happening now? And then what will be? So some of the quotes from, so this is Joe Hawke. He speaks like a storyteller. But he says, before there were no hospitals, no doctors, how did Māoridom survive? We go back to the tohunga, to the kōrero atua. They were able to read the moon, the stars and the sun, and they had to read them to survive. And then what happened? Healing practices in our traditional knowledge was legally and violently outlawed. Colonisation has, by and large, taught us that the answers lie outside of ourselves. So just briefly, what was or is rongoa? People didn't talk about diabetes and cancer and heart disease. They didn't talk about all that stuff. When they talked about rongoa as kind of healing, they talked about rongoa as a system, not a service, and that it was grounded in te ao Māori and mātauranga Māori. There was a crucial element of wairua that flowed through all of that. They talked about Māori and our connection to our natural resources and the quality and essence, and they also talked about the pollution of Māori. And they talked about the role of tohunga as not just healers but also the facilitators of knowledge translation, and that they were the philosophers and the researchers. And then they talked about our system of mātauranga transfer through generations being highly credible and scientific and valid. What happened? So we sort of know what happened. We know we got colonised and we're still being colonised. But at the same time, there was this forced, imposed reliance on Western medicine. That it's really easily available, it's cheap, and we got taught that our way of healing wasn't good enough. What's happening now? So some of the whānau talked about, I just go and get some pills from the chemist. I haven't been to the doctor for years. People go to rongoa when they're dying. Medicine of a last resort. Western medicine's not working, so we'll try this now. There's a sense of disconnection from te ao Māori, and that maintaining connectedness is the most important thing. And then the last one is that whānau are just struggling to survive. So I was asking them, what do you think about rongoa? And they're like, I'm just trying to pay my bills. And then also what's happening. So Māori do go looking for help. And that they really talked about the mental health space, mental wellness. Māori do go looking for help in terms of wairua and spirituality. The help that we're offering is not really what they're after, and it's not right. They'll give you a medicine, but all you've done is taken care of the body. There's also a spiritual connection to the earth and everything else that needs to be looked after. And it doesn't need a pill to say that you're nuts. It actually requires the normalisation that whatever people are perceiving in this world, that it's actually okay. And that we have a lot of Māori who are lost, and if people found their thing, the thing that makes them breathe, they will find that their life is a lot happier and healthier as a result. Because what they're doing, they were doing what they're supposed to be doing on this earth. So in that space, really just the first thing was Whanau Realities. Whanau are just struggling to survive. There's real disconnection from te ao Māori, and that they talked about illness as a physical manifestation of life demands and poverty. That our healthcare experiences are not what we're asking for. They're not appropriate to us, and at times they're risky because you risk being labelled and unnecessarily diagnosed and unnecessarily medicated. And at the same time, the government support for rongoa actually limits rongoa rather than supports its flourishing. But what is supported is commercialisation and appropriation. And we're having to negotiate the space of, we're trying to flourish rongoa for ourselves, make it available, but there are threats to our integrity, there are threats to our scientific credibility, and there are people trying to tahai our knowledge for their own agendas. So people talked about, like, what is rongoa then? Rongoa is about understanding who you are, or where you are, who you are, and what your connections are. Understanding that the Ngāhere was not a stagnant, inanimate concept. It's a living, breathing person, really. When Māori introduce ourselves, we talk about our mountains and our seas for the reason that they are literally a part of our whakapapa. They're not just icons or physical icons. So the Ngāhere is a part of our whakapapa, and the purpose of rongoa is to maintain that knowledge, understanding, and connection to Ngāhere. And for Pākehā who believe that they are the centre of the universe and the world revolves around them, it's too hard to fathom. But for Māori who understand we are just a small blip in this world, in this huge cosmology, it's like that makes perfect sense. And so what will be, and I came into this going, let's re-normalise rongoa, let's make rongoa our thing. And what is it, you know, and I had this plan of having a plan of this is what it is. And I realised that all I would be doing is imposing another view of health onto people who already have a view imposed on them. And what people really talked about was that rongoa Māori will be whatever whānau determine it to be in their local context, for example for Ngāti Hine. But a part of that, I would suggest, should include reclaiming our health sovereignty and our intellectual sovereignty over our own mātauranga. So reaffirming that our mātauranga is credible and valid and useful. So this is sort of my model of rongoa systems at the moment. Not hospitals and not to whakaiti what's happening now, but this is our science, this is our mātauranga healing systems based on mātauranga Māori. This is our well-being practices, just a couple of examples. And so what will be, at the end I really thought, what will be is to be determined, particularly here for Ngāti Hine, by Ngāti Hine, and what will that be for Ngāti Hine. And I think that's it's an opportunistic space for us at the moment to look at what will rongoa look like for Ngāti Hine. But some things I'm pretty clear about, and that is that it will be determined by Ngāti Hine. It will be specific and unique to us and include our own mātauranga. Yeah, so open to pātai. Kia ora koutou.